tonight, Coach Ariel, I think we can't wait it anymore to have our guest for tonight. And our guest for tonight is no other than Maurizio Tiezzi from Italy. Okay, let me have his short bio. Maurizio Tiezzi is a lawyer, professional transactional analysis counselor, an international speaker. In his activities and work, he passionately favors the personal encounter with the Holy Spirit for effective Christian life, spiritual development, healthy interpersonal relationships, and autonomy. He is co-founder and chairman of Fondazione Cantonuovo, a Christian not-profit foundation based in Italy, where he was born and lives. His wife, Andrea, accompanies him in his ministry, and he has two daughters, Katerina and Elena. My dear co-kingdom citizens and ambassadors, may I have the honor to present to you our guest for tonight,
Yes.
Sir Maurizio Tiezzi.
Hello, sir. Good morning or good afternoon to you.
Hello, how are you?
Yes, good afternoon.
Yes, and welcome
Good
to Kingdom
afternoon.
Talk. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me again.
Yes.
Very happy about this. Thank you.
And it's really, sir, an honor for us to have you in this program, because I know that you are not only a minister but also a lawyer by profession.
Yes.
You are dominating in that spirit, and it's really an honor for us, because this is really the vision of Kingdom Talk, is to reach all the spheres
That's right.
of society, especially at the area of your space, sir, because I know that the broadcast that we have, it will reach not only in our place but also to some other parts of the world.
That's right.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. It's very good.
Yes.
It's a real privilege to be here with you, and especially I can open, if possible, a window from the law point of view. It's always a pleasure for me, because that's been part of my life, and I could see at the legal field from different perspectives.
Yes.
Wow.
Before I would meet the Lord, and afterwards, so I can even compare two sides of it.
Wow. That's great, and I believe that we will learn more from you, sir, for tonight.
Thank you. I hope I can give my contribution.
Yes, you can.
Let's dominate the airwaves, and let's send right frequency.
Right information, yes.
To all the spheres of society.
And we are so excited, sir.
Okay. Okay, so, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I can I can start sharing something? Yes?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I had in mind one topic, which is about righteousness and the kingdom, and especially what we find in Matthew 6:33. It's a famous sentence pronounced by Jesus when he said, "Seek first his kingdom and his righteousness," talking about the Father, and all these things will be added to you.
Yeah.
So I had a desire to face this topic of righteousness connected to the kingdom, and connected to the anxiety of life, which today is dominating many people's lives.
That's right.
So I'd like to get into that. First of all, I would say that the context here is talking about Matthew, is that of the Lord teaching his disciples and giving them the big framework of the kingdom law.
Wow.
That is, so our great King Jesus, he spent a lot of time with his disciples. Maybe not everybody realizes this, talking and explaining to them what is the legal way to dwell and live in the kingdom of God.
Wow.
Yes.
And so many times we refer to the books of Matthew and as the book of the kingdom, but not very often people have it clear that it talks about legal aspects of this life in this kingdom, because as we know, the kingdom of God is not a religious entity
Yes.
or way of facing life, but it's a real not just country, but a real legal system
Yes.
which applies to the life of the citizen.
Amen.
Yes.
So this is the first thing. So he was talking to them, as you may remember. He was in front of a big crowd, but then he turned to the disciples and he started teaching them. So what we see in Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is not really for the crowds, but it's for the disciples, because they had to have it clear what is the legal body regulating your life on earth,
Yes.
being already in the kingdom of the Father. This is why, for instance, in Matthew 5:20, he says, "For I say to you, that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the scribes and Pharisees, you shall by no means enter into the kingdom of heaven."
Yes.
So this is a very important statement, because what was the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, and why they had to have a greater righteousness that was surpassing that of the scribes and the Pharisees. So to enter into his kingdom demands surpassing righteousness in our living after regeneration.
Wow.
So to enter in the kingdom of heavens is to live in its reality today and to participate also in its manifestation in the future.
Yes.
So it's not just for the future, but the reality of the kingdom is already here today, but it's not for everybody. This is what I found out. It's just for the ones who become its citizens. Because we haven't been already given jurisdiction over the land. We have just been given power of influence.
Wow.
So we can influence the land which is not already part of the kingdom, but we can, he has jurisdiction over our heart, over our life.
Yes, that's
Yes.
right.
So these are the two aspects, jurisdiction and influence. I think we should keep them very much distinct, because jurisdiction is to be sovereign over something, over someone, over a land or whatever.
Yes.
So it's a body of laws regulating the life on that piece of land, and so the people living there must obey, or however respect the law. Now influence is that however people can sort of change situations, just expressing their personality in the place where they are. So, but they don't have, they cannot use this influence to tell people what to do, but just to help them to become who they are. So these are two first differences. So the righteousness that they had to have, these disciples, had to surpass that of the scribes and Pharisees. And
Yes.
The kingdom principles which can be applied in our life are principles of life. They follow the life and the spirit.
Yes.
Don't go by the letter. While the scribes and Pharisees were trying to find righteousness in following the letter of the law.
Wow.
We cannot acquire righteousness or respond to God's righteousness and His just and holy demand of righteousness doing something. But as we know, we can only trust in Him, start living Christ, the King Jesus, as our life here on earth.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
I'm trying to condensate a few understandings and principles because I want to be very practical too. So this is the sort of a big frame that we have. But actually, I didn't understand these words of Jesus until I could experience them. Is that whoever listens to these words and reflects, however, on this topic can ask the Holy Spirit to allow him or her to experience this statement of Jesus in the life. Now, I remember that I went for the first time in my life to the Bahamas in 2006 because someone else addressed me to Mars Monroe as someone that could help me to find out more about my life. So I went there. I didn't know anything about him or the kingdom really. I was just fascinated by some of his books. I read one, The Power of Vision, and things like that. So I went there from Italy, took a flight, went to the Bahamas, to Nassau, and I remember the night that I introduced myself to him. It was August 2006, and I went there and I said, Sir, I'm very happy to be here. And I want you to explain something about my background. I used to be Catholic at the beginning of my life. So I said, I come from a Catholic background. And he said, but I want you to say, I'm not there anymore, but that was where I was. And he said, I'm very sorry. So he told me, I'm very sorry. I remember this way of joking that he had without being offensive or anything like that. And then I explained to him in 10 seconds some things, and it was like he was not listening to me. Then he laid hands on me and prayed. And he said things that I consider to be not impossible, but so out of reach in my life. Like, may all that you need for your life follow you. May everything you need be added on to you. May you be a miracle to yourself, and may people see that as you seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, may they see that your king rewards the ones that are seeking for him and his righteousness. So, because at that time in my life I was experiencing a big crisis since about already 3-4 years in my job because of my faith. I was sort of cut off from the business, if we can say anything like that. Influencing people in the area, religious people, even family members. As Jesus said, they were all there trying to catch me at fault and destroy my job. And in fact, they succeeded in that. So I arrived there quite sort of broken or anything, or something like that. And he was saying these things to me, which were sort of very far. I didn't understand well. Then I started entering the thing, and I kept going there for years and years. We also had the opportunity to be together, and it was a very blessed time. But it was after 7 years, or 7 years almost, that suddenly something happened, and I had the opportunity to enter into a new field of law. I was doing criminal, basically, and then I ended up doing international contract. I'm a contract lawyer in international business. But and I didn't, that door opened suddenly. But in these 6-7 years, God redeemed the whole of my life because my family had fallen apart somehow. My relationships, I lost all my friends. Daughters, some of alienated somewhere. It was a nightmare. And day by day, God started redeeming everything that had been stolen. And I realized not from me, but from Him.
Yes.
Because the day I said, I belong to you, and I realized that I really do, He's the owner of my life.
Yes.
He started redeeming everything to Himself.
Oh, wow.
You know, like, okay, this is not the life I designed for you. Now it will start coming past what I designed for you, your destiny. You see, but until I really realized that He was my owner, not only my God, He was my owner, my King.
Yes.
It was I don't know if I can explain it better than this. It's something. When I realized this, little by little, everything went back into the place that was originally intended to be, and the last thing to be redeemed. I use this word because for me it has a very deep meaning, and I will try to explain it. You know, it was my job and my financial position.
Yes.
Now, this is what I experienced, putting my whole heart and trust in this verse that I started with. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you.
Yes.
This is really true, and I want to say it with all my strength. It happens because when we are not focused according to the priorities that we give to in our life to things and people, when we don't give our priorities to God and His sovereign will and direction and His majestic righteousness and justice, we cannot be in the position to receive what He has ready for us. So it comes to pass that a sort of a divine alignment takes place, and we find ourselves in the right position to receive everything from heaven. Now, as I said, I cannot think as a kingdom citizen, kingdom of God, God's citizen, to have jurisdiction over the earth. Now, I don't have jurisdiction. I have power of influence because I cannot convict people. I cannot, you know, I don't know how to explain it. But, however, I hope you understand.
Yes.
But since I decide for Him, and I have the kingdom concept and alive in my heart, I give Him, back my life, and so He has jurisdiction over my life. To make everything happen, everything that He has designed, thought, and provided for already. When He thought of me, He already provided everything I needed. But if my destiny had been diverted somehow, I couldn't receive the things that I needed for my God-given destiny, because I was not living my God-given destiny. I was living something else, which was a big lie. So it's not a magic formula that if you start preaching, if you start reading the Bible, if you start I don't know, praying for people, it's not a magic formula that everything falls online and you are aligned to heaven to receive. It's a question of heart, and it's a question of life. It's the deep understanding and trust that you belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken.
Amen.
So this was my experience that I had then, and I can tell you that before I could have this verse live in my heart, not to say in my spirit, which is basically what I should say. I'm talking about revelation, of course. Until it was revealed to me the depth of this reality, I could not be aligned And because I was not really in the reality of that kingdom, I was sort of still having a sort of a religious attitude towards it and things like that. But the day that I caught it, that became mine as by experience.
Yes.
So this is something that I wanted to say about my as a testimony.
Yes.
And I hope I could encourage some people.
Yes.
Now, when I was practicing as a criminal lawyer, I remember that I'm using this other experience of mine to explain what it means to seek righteousness, because I think that this is very much misunderstood often, or not really, or not well understood. Now, I was not only a lawyer, but for 6 years in my life, I was an honorary criminal prosecutor.
Wow.
And that meant that I could sit on the bench of the prosecution, and I was so free because I could seek for truth. You know, being a lawyer, somehow we are driven to seek for our clients' interests,
Yes.
which is not truth. Not always. Sometimes yes, but not always. But there, sitting on that bench, I could really feel free because I could seek for truth. And when I was seeking for truth, I was really seeking for the righteousness of the system.
Wow.
Because the legal system had in itself its righteousness. And I was seeking the truth. I could seek the righteousness of the system, and I could, trusting that system, being righteous in turn for myself, because I could not do anything against the truth and the righteousness I was seeking after. So I want to say that that taste of freedom that I had was never repeated in my life until I was in the litigation field.
Wow.
But I found it again when I became, being a citizen of the kingdom of God. Because when you seek for truth, you seek indeed for the righteousness of the system of the kingdom.
Amen.
And when you have the righteousness of the system, which is the righteousness of the king in a kingdom, the system is the king himself. So then automatically putting your trust in him and in the legal system that he provided for the citizens, you acquire the same righteousness. So he becomes righteousness to you because he couldn't do anything which contradicts his truth and his righteousness.
Yes, that's right.
So by the moment that we look for him and we trust him, I use this word trusting. I will explain now why in a minute. We actually experience his righteousness, and he becomes our righteousness. That's what the word in 1 Corinthians says that we are in Christ Jesus, and he's become for us the wisdom of God, and then it says that he is our righteousness, holiness, and redemption. So he has become our righteousness. That means that every standard of God has been embodied in that human being, and then he has become alive. So we could see how he could live righteousness in his life as a human being, and then he has becoming the giving, life-giving spirit. He has become our life and our righteousness.
Amen.
So So when you seek for his righteousness, you actually seeking Jesus to become your life.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And when he becomes your life, his righteousness is in you.
Amen.
And you live it out as a citizen of his kingdom on a
Yes.
foreign country, which is earth.
Mm-hmm.
That leads to holiness and redemption. So the teaching of Jesus was not just about things and how to, to have all you need for your life and your assignments on earth. Basically, I believe that his teaching was for holiness
That's right.
and redemption.
Mm-hmm.
So, having said this, I would like to say that in order to experience this scripture in our life, we need trust.
Mm-hmm.
People would say faith, but really, I found out that the word that is used in the Greek text, which is pistis, it should be translated in a different way in Italian or English, because it's not really faith. I mean, a mental assent to something that you believe it is true.
Yes.
It should be translated like trust, or even better, faithfulness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we remember that by the faithfulness or the faithful trust of Abraham, God considered him righteous.
Wow.
Right.
So he was vested with righteousness because he trusted faithfully God.
Mm-hmm.
At the point of leaving everything, even his firstborn, his son, leaving it, killing him. This faithfulness reached to that point, and that was considered a manifestation of the righteousness.
Amen.
So I would say that when you trust the king and his legal system, is the moral standards according to which we are to live our life on earth, that leads you inevitably to obedience.
Wow.
Because
Yes.
you cannot live for the truth and not be obedient to the law of the king, because he has become your righteousness.
Amen.
And that is said when obedience then leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to holiness.
Yeah.
So as citizens of this kingdom, we are not just disciples of the king, but
Yes.
we are the saints. We are the ones who have a holy life in them, and then and we can live it outwardly. So this is basically my message. And I want to add this: when someone in his life or her life, I will use his, it's easier for me, someone in his life lacks anything, like money, clothing, shelter, or things. However, I have noticed, even because of my job, that people are sort of prioritizing things. Like if you're poor, you're looking for things. All you need is not really money to have power. This is the problem of the rich people. But they want to have money to have things, because they lack things. Now, I have seen that talking to these people who think that they don't have things, and maybe they really don't have them, they think all day about it. They live for it. They hope all day for things to come into their life. And many times they go to bed, they didn't receive them, and they start saying, God, where are you? Why don't you give me the things that I need? So looking for things is something that really belongs to poor people. And however, when you are greedy or covetous, that is the problem that you're going to have, because you don't look for things, but you look for money to have power over other people. So this thirst of having what you need to to realize your personal justice, your self-righteousness, that becomes your problem.
Yes.
And so even talking to some people in this, in my job, I could really appreciate how they were deceived, because really the kingdom and the righteousness of the king had not become their priority, but they're still worried. Jesus warned about worries. Don't worry, don't be anxious for your life. He was saying this to the disciples because he knew that if you worry for things, you cannot be focused on the kingdom and the righteousness of God.
Exactly.
So please, this is a message to everybody who's struggling in their life. I have been there. Maybe not at the same degree that some people are. Of course, everybody has his level of everything.
Amen.
So I had mine, and I can give my testimony again. If you focus on the kingdom and the righteousness of the king, not the righteousness, righteousness of the king, then everything you need for your assignment on earth will be given to you and abundantly.
That's right.
You know why? Because part of his righteousness regards the commonwealth of the kingdom.
That's right.
So whenever he gives you something, it's not just for yourself, but it is to be given and to be moved around so the wealth can circulate. So, this is why once you enter into this dimension, God will never let you down. Actually, He will give you abundantly so that you can give even more and more and more. This is a question of trust, not our trust in Him, but His trust in us. So that was when He say, or trust, or when He was saying, "You good and trustful servant, you did well with what I have given to you." That's the meaning. So I want to encourage people not just to focus and have the kingdom and the righteousness of the King as a priority, but also to expect to have in abundance what they need in order to give also to others. Of course, if you then are given things that you need because you need them for your assignment, and instead you spend them for yourself or you keep them to yourself, the whole thing collapses again. Because you cannot buy the trust of the King on your life. It's a privilege that we have to serve Him this way and to administer His riches.
Wow.
Okay.
It was
just a little. Just a little. 1 minute more, and then I close. I have a. I have whenever you study some Greek version of the gospel or whatever, I can give you some insights in that. The word righteousness that is used there is dikaiosune, which is the word in Hebrew tzedakah. Now, this word dikaiosune is very rich, also in Greek, and it means rectitude, right, justice, virtue, welfare, but mostly we can see that it means the righteousness as an attitude of doing the right things in governing. So when you seek for the righteousness of God, you are striving, you are seeking, you are seeking in order to find, you are seeking to know and find out, you are seeking after and for, you require and you demand that the attitude of God to do the right thing in governing your life may come to pass in your life. So that means to seek for His righteousness. And so this righteousness is God's attribute, and it's His trueness. And so, for instance, it also means justice, not just righteousness, as it is always translated, but also justice. So justice is the justice of a king in punishing the wicked and freeing with vindicated and rewarding the godly.
Wow.
And it's the justice of a judge that has no partiality and gives to each one what is his by law. So it is impossible that you seek the justice and the righteousness, the dikaiosune or tzedakah of God, that you are not given what is yours by law of the king. It's impossible. So this is why, he's got this attitude to give to each one what is due to that person by law. His law, his word, his will. So it is impossible. And that's actually the attitude of every judge, every ruler. No partiality. I give you what the law says. I give you justice. So that's so. And how come that we are seeking for God's justice and righteousness? Because we don't fear.
Yes.
Because we know that we've been justified already.
That's
so
right.
we don't fear Him.
Yes.
Because but even though the fear of God should always be in our heart, as to say, if I lose the king, I will have to provide for myself now and in eternity, and that's impossible. Or if I am under the king, I am trusting him, I am confiding and relying on God and entrusting my life into his hands, all these things will be given to me, and he will be with me always.
Yes.
There's no fear. There's no fear. So yes, this is basically what I wanted to say, and I hope that these words could encourage someone. As John said, we don't fear God because we love Him.
Yes.
And so, please, everybody listens. If we do not love Him, then we have to fear. That means, that's a very subtle, distinguishing point, but I don't want to enter into that. I just wanted to say that righteousness and justice are very dear to me as concepts.
Yes.
Because once you seek for them, you behave in that way too.
Yes.
Amen.
And so that's almost automatic.
Wow.
Yes. Because, you're right, what you are saying really is true, because I know that you almost every day in your profession, you encounter so many clients that asking for justice.
Yes, that's right.
Seeking for righteousness.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah. And they want justice.
Yes.
But,
Yes.
it's, they can only have the justice of the system, not their justice, what they are expecting from life or from me.
Wow.
That's right.
They will receive what the law says for them in their particular case. So you cannot bargain with justice.
Yes.
You only can receive it and apply it.
Wow.
There's no shortcut.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
No shortcut. That's
I
right.
like that word, no shortcut.
Because shortcut is trespassing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Wow. Thank you very much. Really, it's a powerful word.
Yes. We've learned some legal terminologies.
And it's empower us really, because I believe that your client was so blessed to have you as
Yes.
when they asked your service to be their lawyer, they are so blessed because
right justice will be
served.
served. That's right. And we are so blessed and we are so happy to have you in that sphere of society, because I believe that you can still infiltrate those people that come to you that need your help
yes.
by
Yeah.
showing them
It's,
the right the right justice that they deserve.
Yes, because
Yeah.
the profession of Dr. Maurizio, almost every day there are so many
Yes.
people every
Clients.
day.
Yes.
Here in my place, when every time I pass by in bulwagan ng katarungan, what we call this?
The legislative.
The DOJ.
Ano ba yun yung
we call that the bulwagan ng katarungan in Tagalog. It's like a justice building. Every time I pass by in that building, there are so many people in that place.
Especially those ano ba yung mga mahirap lang.
Those who are people who are not, they are not have the finances to sustain their case.
Public attorney to help them to find justice.
Yes. And yeah, there are many people. This is a very sensitive field in life, in society, justice.
Yes.
How sensitive it is, right?
Yes.
But I can say, having been a lawyer for 30 years and more, that unfortunately people don't look for justice. They look for their needs to be fulfilled. And unfortunately, lawyers are many times not looking for justice. I say this is in every field, but also in ours, unfortunately. But so until you are trying to seek things or satisfaction because someone did anything bad to you, so you want to be satisfied, and whatever, could be money, could be things, could be satisfaction, which is, but that is not going to pay off. It's something that you will always be unhappy about.
That's right.
In the end.
Amen. That's right.
So it's that is what Jesus was talking about. If you focus on things, you focus on your selfishness.
Yes. That's
because you fear. The mother of greed, the mother of covetousness is fear.
Yes.
Because you fear you will not have tomorrow, so you do whatever today in order to have the things you think you need. And this has got nothing to do with justice and righteousness.
Yes.
Which is a different thing.
Yes. So you know that temptation in your sphere of influence really is so heavy.
Yes, because bribery is operating also, especially in those lawyers who do not have the fear of the Lord.
Yes.
Exactly. Yes. That is the problem.
That's right.
That is the problem.
Yes.
That is the problem. Many have their self-justice very developed.
How do you handle?
Because they don't.
How do you handle that kinds of temptation? I know that there's so many people coming to you. How do you handle that? Because maybe how do you face that kind of temptation that you are facing?
The challenge of self-righteousness.
Yes.
Not compromising.
Yes, that's right.
That, you know, that's all about it. But it's an attitude of the heart. I could say this. Many times after my life was completely changed by the strong encounter that I had with the Holy Spirit. That was the day my life changed completely. Think that few days afterwards, I read Romans 13, and I wrote to my consultant, financial consultant. I said, from now onwards, I will live like this. And I faxed, because we had faxes there, not emails. I faxed a copy of Romans 13 to say taxes must be paid. So that's how I started. And it's a question of the heart. When you are a kingdom citizen assigned to the legal field, you don't even ask yourself how you can overcome that challenge.
Yes.
You don't even think about it. I think it is a miracle.
Oh, yes.
But I don't know how to explain it better. For instance, if you're a kingdom citizen and you go and you're pregnant and you go to the medical doctor and they say abortion is the only chance you have, you don't even think about that.
Yes.
You say no, not because you overcame temptation. You say no because I don't even think about it.
Yes.
It's the same thing in every field, I believe, that if, your mindset and your heart
Yes.
is tuned with the righteousness
That's right.
of God, and you can't do it.
Yes.
So I think that's how. Yeah. So I don't have any merit in doing it.
Wow,
Yes.
that's right. I love what you have said, that it is a matter of the heart, the
Yes.
kind of heart that you have. And we are so grateful to have you, sir, for sharing with us with that powerful words. And we've learned a lot for tonight, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
And before we
So-
end this program tonight, I will ask you to speak a prayer, especially
Yes.
that a prayer specifically that God raise up young generations of lawyers who are kingdom citizens, because I saw really the necessity, the need, not only in our country but also around the globe, around the world, that God, we really need people who are in that in your spirits, that people who have the fear of the Lord in their heart.
That's
because
right.
without these people we cannot guard
The
this
legal
the legal spheres, and we really need people who will be planted in that spheres of society.
Yes. So I can pray for this.
Yes.
Dear Heavenly Father, by what I have been given, that grace and that power that you put in my life, when I decided and when I realized I belong to you since ever, Lord, I ask you for that grace that you dispense to everybody that comes to you.
Wow,
Just call the new and the young generation to the righteousness of your kingdom, and awake in them a pure conscience,
Amen.
so that they can be warned of the boundaries of your standards, and they may live out the life of Christ that's been given to them. Lord, call to you many young lawyers, so that they can be just and holy in their law firms and in the courts, and then they can seek for truth and talk to people in order to touch their hearts more than to win cases.
Hallelujah.
I pray, Lord, that you do this. They may have no fear of men, but that we may always have the fear of you in our hearts, so that we cannot live without you. And I also pray that you put power and fire into these young lawyers, Lord, so that they can, when they speak, their words, can they really touch the hearts of the people, and the people who are desperate and destroyed by the lack of things in their life, they can hear that you have a kingdom for them, Lord, and they can embody what they convey by the tongue. They can embody it in their life, Lord, in this planet. We thank you and we are grateful for what you're doing among the young generation. Thank you very much. Thank you from the bottom of our heart.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen. Wow. Hallelujah. Thank you, Dr. Maurizio, for that powerful prayer. And we can sense that it is already moving right now.
Yes.
And thank you also for the time that you have spent with us in this program, Kingdom Talk. I believe that we have a real Kingdom Talk for tonight, a real talk in the sphere of the legal. And thank you very much.
We really appreciate your time, sir.
Yes, thank you very much.
I appreciate your ministry and what you're doing. It's wonderful. that the message of the kingdom can be spread.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir,
It's all
and-
for the glory of
Thank
God.
you.
And see you again in this program, sir. I know that we have so many topics that we need to discuss
Yes, that's right.
in this space because really this is part of our mandate to send kingdom ambassador and citizens to all the spheres of society.
Yes.
Because
Amen.
because I believe that it is one way to turn this world upside down is
Yes.
to send the right people in every sphere of society.
That's right.
Yes, yes, that's
Yes.
very important.
Yes.
That's very important. That we touch the conscience of the people.
Yes, that's
Yes.
God
right.
places in front of us.
Amen.
Yeah, wherever we go. That's the
Yes.
point, yes.
Wow.
Well, thank you for having me, and yes, I'm very happy whenever you want. I'll be very much available
Yes.
and happy.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you and extend our greetings to your
Yes,
to your beautiful
wife and
wife.
to your 2 daughters.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
And bye-bye for now, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
then.
sir. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
More
Goodbye.
blessings.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Wow.
Hallelujah. Praise God.
That was
Dr. Maurizio Tiezzi from Italy.
And it was a powerful message, Coach.
Yes.
Yun na yun.